from the worldwide leader in sports. Love listening to him on the broadcasts of Sunday night and all the other major league games of note on ESPN. The great Buster Olney is back here on the Rich Eisen Show on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line. How you doing, Buster?
I'm doing great, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Let's talk about the trade that just went down about an hour ago. Why was Josh Hader traded away and available? Why, and they trade him to a team that they could easily see in the first round in October? What's up with that?
Yeah, this is a mid-market / small market team managing its resources. Josh Hader's been one of the most dominant relievers in baseball, but through arbitration, he was going to climb to $15 million, probably in that range for next year. And that's really high for a reliever for a team like the Brewers, got a limited payroll. It's interesting. There have been stories that the Brewers have been listing on Hader the last few days. They've been listing on Hader for 3 years. Like, they've told teams all along, look, if you want to make us an offer, we're open to it because we know at some point we're going to be dealing the guy. And it just got to that tipping point. He had really struggled in the last month, 13 runs in his last 8 1/3 innings, 5 homers allowed. So you get the sense that the Brewers kind of, got out while the getting was good, before Hader's salary began to climb. And for the Padres, they are going for it. There's no doubt about it. A lot of talk about A.J. Preller, their general manager, being aggressive, but their owner is, to me, one of the Peter Seidler is probably the closest thing we've seen to the Tigers' Mike Ilitch, and that it's cost be damned. He's trying to win a championship for his city.
No kidding. So isn't it amazing? We now live in a world in which the San Diego Padres are taking advantage of a mid-market, small-market team that wants to mind its P's and Q's for not just now, but down the road. And the Padres are one of those teams as a have. And the question is can they have Juan Soto? What's the scoop there, Buster?
Yeah, they are down to 1 of 3 teams that are involved in this conversation with the Nationals. The Cardinals are also in, and I think that, all things being equal, the Cardinals might have the best position prospects, major league ready players to offer for Soto. Some of the other general managers doubt whether or not the Cardinals have the stomach to give up the sort of massive prospect deal that would be required for it. You can't ever rule out the Dodgers are one of the final 3 teams. They got Yu Darvish. They got Manny Machado. Last summer they got Trey Turner and Max Scherzer, and they've done a phenomenal job of developing players, so they have the players to make it happen. I don't think there's any question the Padres are the most motivated team, and they could theoretically make it happen. I think, Rich, the big question at the moment is, are the Nationals under ownership mandate to move Soto? Mike Rizzo, the general manager, has said no, that's not the case. The team is in the midst of being transferred in ownership, and folks with other teams have wondered, do the incoming owners want that first big move to be them being forced to trade Juan Soto, or are they telling the outgoing owners, the Lerner family, look, you guys have to make that trade. We're not going to do that. Come on board and immediately trade the best player in the organization. I do think he's going to get traded. Most of the executives who I speak with believe he's going to get traded before the deadline as well.
So then what about the idea that you rent Soto for 2 years, right? So what's his contract situation and how that might affect the prospect haul that the Nationals are asking for or eventually might have to settle for, Buster?
Yeah, and look, he's under team control for the rest of this year and for the next 2 years before he becomes a free agent. And that actually makes him attractive to just about every team. It's not like he's already locked into some $500 million contract now, and that makes him accessible if you're the Padres. I don't think they would be acquiring him even worrying about the next contract. I don't think the Cardinals would be worrying about that. Typically St. Louis, when they acquire a player, Matt Holliday, Mark McGwire, Paul Goldschmidt, they like the player to come into St. Louis, get comfortable, and then they work out some sort of an extension. Here's the thing, too, is that when you're talking about a player like Juan Soto, if and when he does get traded, it'll be the most significant young player traded since Babe Ruth. He's 23 years old. He's on a trajectory to be an inner circle Hall of Famer. This is like trading for Willie Mays in 1955, like trading for Henry Aaron in 1958, like trading for Mike Trout in 2014. That's how good this guy is. And if you look at the history of these massive, prospect, young player for superstar type deals, whether it's baseball or basketball, you can talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to the Lakers, deals in baseball, Vida Blue, Tom Seaver, they always work out for the team that acquires the superstar because you can't replicate the type of production a guy like Juan Soto is going to give you.
But if you're a team that's, like you said, the Padres and Cardinals or whomever that acquires Soto with the sense of, well, we have 2+ years of contractual control and that's all we're going to basically get him for. So, hey, Nationals, we're not going to give you 15 of our top prospects based on that concept. When do we check in with Scott Boras to see if that's okay with him? Honestly.
Yeah, and that's a great question. He, of course, represents Soto.
Yes.
I don't think the Padres are worried about that. I think that they're only, at the moment, concerned about acquiring him for this year and for the next 2 years. I think the Cardinals have an eye on that. I think the Dodgers would be the one team among the three that might be concerned. And I don't know, how earnest the Dodgers are in their pursuit. Part of me wonders if they're, driving the price up for the Padres, a division rival. Because knowing Andrew Friedman through the years, the head of baseball operations for the Dodgers, I don't think he likes the idea of paying twice for a superstar level player. The deal that he made for Mookie Betts, Alex Verdugo, as it's turned out, is the only major league regular that he gave up, and then he signed Mookie to that deal that had a lot of deferred money. If you're taking on Juan Soto, not only is it going to cost you, the 4 or 5 big-time young player prospects, but it also is going to cost you eventually a contract that starts with the number 5. Juan Soto is likely to be the first player to get a $500 million contract.
Buster Olney here on the Rich Eisen Show, senior writer from ESPN and reporter as well during Sunday Night Baseball. So was there a moment over the last 3 days that Shohei Ohtani was really open on the market? The Angels put him out there? Did that happen, Buster? For real?
No. In fact, I saw in the last 2 hours, I've seen a headline breaking: Ohtani's off the market. He was never really on the market.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of teams this time of year will tell other teams, "Look, if you guys want to, give us an offer, let us know." So much of that is about gathering information for the winter time. Artie Moreno, the owner of the Angels, is hyper-aggressive. He's absolutely attracted to stardom, which is why he, went over the head of his general manager and signed Josh Hamilton, did the same thing with Albert Pujols, did the same thing with Anthony Rendon. The idea that he's going to give up the shiniest object in baseball a year and a half from free agency, there was no way that was going to happen. Folks within the Angels organization acknowledge that. Now, the reason why you gather information now is they are barreling toward that moment when they will seriously have to consider trading him, because there's a lot of indication that Ohtani might be ready to move on. The Angels have obviously been an incredible disappointment this year. Last year, every other year, Ohtani's been there. Almost every year that Mike Trout has been there. And the conversation within baseball circles is, Ohtani's going to be ready to jump to another team. And if that's the case, if the Angels, I assume early in the offseason, will make him a big offer, if he says no, then you do have to begin to, in earnest, talk about trading him.
Well, where might Ohtani be interested, Buster? And there's a city so nice they named it twice that I'm thinking of. But so what are you thinking? Because he did sign with the Angels when the rest of the free world was trying to get him, and the concept was he kind of likes how there's no 24/7, 365 sports talk radio and 15 newspapers coming at him. What's his wants, do you think, on that?
That's exactly right. I was talking with the general manager yesterday who was going back over his notes from the time that Ohtani was available, and the message that the teams got after he picked the Angels was, look, he just doesn't want to have all the hoopla and be the number one guy. He can go to the Angels. He can just focus on baseball. Mike Trout can be the headliner and he can just do his thing. Well, that clearly has to change now because he is the brightest object in baseball. He's a one of a kind. No one's ever done what he's done as a two-way player. And you wonder if he's moved that beyond that part of his career where he is ready to be the headliner. I've wondered about the Mets because Billy Epler was the most important person, the former general manager of the Angels, to lure Ohtani. He had developed a really great relationship with him to lure Ohtani to the Angels. Well, Billy Epler's moved on to the Mets, who are now owned by the richest owner in baseball. And you would assume that when Ohtani becomes a free agent after the 2023 season, that Steve Cohen and the Mets may take a run at him. You wonder about the Mariners. Who they signed Ichiro in the past. If Ohtani wants to stay on the West Coast, that would be an interesting place. And of course, the Dodgers. Even though there would be a lot more attention in theory, media attention, playing with the Dodgers, he'd be surrounded by Mookie Betts and other star players. He wouldn't have to shoulder that entire burden. So it's going to be interesting to see what he decides. How he begins to steer this process, if he begins to steer this process, and what Artie, decides to do in terms of when to pull the plug.
I don't know if the Mets go and get him, or he's interested in the Mets. George Steinbrenner might come back from the dead just to say "over my dead body" and then go back to the grave. Buster,
Rich, I got to tell you, Rich, one of my great things that I'm really excited about. You and I have never seen in our lifetimes that moment when the Mets at full superpower strength and the Yankees at full superpower strength have gone after the same guy. It's almost like they politely have deferred to the other team in various moments in their respective histories. But at some point, whether it's Ohtani, whether it's Soto in free agency, we are destined to have a full-blown Mets versus Yankees showdown for a player. Heck, maybe it'll happen this winter for Aaron Judge.
Oh, gosh. He's so awesome and so locked in, Buster. There's no question about that. In the couple minutes I have left with you here, here on the program, with all due respect to Soto, and everyone else, we on this program, talk so much about so many star players in baseball. Nothing moves the needle like Ohtani. Nothing comes close to moving the needle like Ohtani. And I'm just wondering if his decision might be affected by Trout's health. What's going on with Trout? What is going on with him, Buster?
So when the athletic trainer spoke with reporters the other day and talked about this condition that he said that Trout would have to manage, I've got mutual friends with Trout. I didn't speak to him directly, but they were all right away like, no, that's not that serious. Like, yeah, it's a concern, and he's going to have to get treatment. He got a shot last week, but the full expectation is that he's going to play again this year, and they assume he's going to play next year. The messaging I got back from the folks I talked to was this is not as big of a deal as that long-sounding name of the condition that he has. We'll see. He's certain. He's over 30 now. You hope he continues. It's a fair question, and if you're Ohtani, you're right. You're looking at the Angels. They just can't put together enough pitching. They seem to step on themselves all the time, and now you've got the situation with Trout. If you're Ohtani, you're going to want a chance to win. That's what I've heard time and time again about him, is that he just wants to win now as he moves forward. And if you look at how the Angels have done in recent years, they would not be candidate number one for that.
Last one for you, Buster Olney. Every other year, it seems, there could be, let's just say the Cardinals from a few years ago, team that's out of it or, average, moribund, sleeping right around August 1st, today's date. And then in October, it's like, wow, that was when things turned and they made a run, and look how deep they're going into October. Which team do you think has the best chance to be that team this time around, Buster Olney?
And you could include the 2019 Nationals in that category,
yes,
the
sir.
Braves last year, below 500 at the trade deadline. I'm going to pick the Seattle Mariners, who made that really aggressive trade for Luis Castillo the other day. Other teams are shocked how much they gave up. But this is a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 21 years. They have baseball's brightest rookie superstar in Julio Rodriguez. They now have the sort of rotation that you can win a short series with. I wouldn't be surprised if they do more before the trade deadline. They've been playing great. That, to me, is the team to watch.
Buster Olney, thanks so much. Greatly appreciate it. Let's chat again soon. Look for more of my texts and calls. Thank you, sir. Enjoy tonight.
Thanks, Rich.
You got it. Buster Olney, part of Red Sox and Astros tonight on the Worldwide Leader right here on the Rich Eisen Show. I follow him on Twitter. You should as well. The great Buster Olney.